Welcome back to Learning Curves. I'm Anastasia, and I am pregnant, and I am a vegetarian, and I am pre-diabetic for gestational diabetes. As a vegetarian, a lot of people seem very concerned with my protein consumption. But in pregnancy, it's important for pregnant women to ensure that we are getting enough protein for ourselves and for baby. The way I understand it, baby gets all the good stuff, and mama gets whatever's left. So really, you want to be eating well. Yes, for your baby, but for yourself, because baby's going to take the best and mama gets the rest. And so you want the rest to still be good. I am not a healthcare provider. Please speak with yours, but it's my understanding that towards the beginning of pregnancy, you should be aiming for about 75 grams of protein a day, and that should increase throughout your pregnancy and tops out around 95, 100 grams of protein a day. Most people aren't going to hit that every day. That's a lot, but I strive to get at least 75 grams of protein every day. In the first trimester of pregnancy, I get very sick. In the first 15 weeks of this pregnancy, I lost 30 pounds, and I'm still down 25 pounds from my starting weight. So I'm sure I've lost more pounds because I have a big belly here. Eating has not been fun for me. I just haven't been feeling great and haven't really had a desire to eat. So it's been even more challenging to get all of that protein in. So I don't fully understand the difference between being pre-diabetic and diabetic. I do know that as long as I keep my blood sugars within healthy ranges, there is no more significant a risk to my baby than there is to a woman who is not even pre-diabetic. So I am really trying to be careful. I honestly think that because I am pre-diabetic and not fully gestationally diabetic, that it's been a lot easier for me to handle my blood sugars. There are some things that I can eat that maybe a woman with full-blown gestational diabetes couldn't have. The thing that's still a struggle for me is that I do really enjoy vegetables, how they feel in my body, how my body feels after eating vegetables. And there is some protein in some produce. The problem is you have to eat so much more volume-wise, and there's no volume here. But I just feel like the things that have high protein contents end up making me feel the same. I don't get that nutrient diversity as much. So you'll see some of the things that I add to some of these recipes to try and help balance that out without adding too much filler, because again, not a lot of space. So I have to make these meals count. I haven't had a lot of desire to eat much or often, and I know it's important for me to do those things. So there are a few meals that I've started making that come together very quickly and taste delicious and pack a big protein punch. And I wanted to share those with you. Most of these require little to no cooking and come together in maybe 10 minutes, which 10 minutes may seem like a lot, but I promise you these come together very quickly. So let's just get right into it. This is a green smoothie. You can find a million green smoothie versions of different recipes on the internet. This is from Angela Liddon of Oh She Glows, who is my favorite food blogger. She calls this her classic green monster, and it's a pretty simple recipe. I will link it in the description box below. The only difference between the recipe that I'm using, which is from her cookbook, and this recipe that I'm linking, which is from her website, is that I'm including vanilla. And then I also sweeten it with some dates because I've really been missing sweets. If you're not familiar with dates, please remember to de-seed your dates. Pull the seed out. Also, there's that weird stem thing on top. But yeah, this recipe, the protein content will vary depending on what milk you use. Cow's milk or soy are both great protein options. And then of course, what protein powder you use. I like using the Trader Joe's pea protein, which is 20 grams per 2 scoops. And here my daughter wanted some smoothie with me, so I made her a tiny little, this is just a 4-ounce little mason jar. I love using mason jars to measure out the milk because then I just pour the smoothie right back into that mason jar. It works out perfectly. This next one feels like cheating, honestly, because it's so simple. I've had it so many times in this pregnancy that I wanted to share it. So this is 2/3 of a cup, 1 serving of whole milk, plain Greek yogurt. I add on top some granola and some fruit. And then when I need a little bit of extra sweet, I add some agave on top. The granola, you need to be careful. Sugar content wise, this is a super seed granola from Oh She Glow's second cookbook. I'm not going to share that recipe because I 100%
100% think that you should purchase that cookbook. There's so many incredible recipes in both of her cookbooks, but I make this one pretty regularly and it's so delicious. Next up is also kind of a cheater recipe because I make it in the microwave, so it saves me so much time and a dish. But this is really simple. I do 3 eggs, I add salt, pepper, garlic powder, scramble them up, microwave them for a minute, stir some more, 30 more seconds. Stir some more. The bowl does get really hot, so be careful. So you can see here it's still a little wet, but the heat within the scrambled eggs will cook the rest of that up very quickly. I like to add a decent amount of cheese. This is actually 2 servings of shredded sharp cheddar cheese. And then I like to add salsa to mine. You can deck it out however you like, but I like adding a nice chunky salsa. Adds a nice cool factor. And even though it's not a Whole Foods product, there is some produce in there, so it's delicious. Now, this might be the one that I'm most proud of. This is Caprese Flavors. You've got tomato, you've got basil, you've got fresh mozzarella, and it's so simple. This one has the highest protein count of any of the recipes in this video, but it's also, I think, the largest, so I do eat this slowly. These are 18 little grape tomatoes sliced in thirds, half a can of white beans, and 12 fresh mozzarella little balls cut into thirds, and then a quarter cup of pesto and a quarter cup of pine nuts. And then I mix it all up and I add a little pink salt to it. Sometimes I've dressed it up a few different ways. Sometimes I'll put a little balsamic vinegar. I mean, who doesn't love Caprese Flavors? They're so delicious. My husband doesn't like tomato, but I guess you could do sun-dried tomato if that's okay for you. Oh, I've also done this instead of the white beans. I've done it with a high-protein noodle instead. If I have a little more time, I'll saute up some garlic and add the tomatoes in and the cheese and the cooked noodles, and oh, so yummy. So this next recipe, even though it's so simple, I thought about doing a dedicated video just to this recipe because this is something that we make so often in this house. And we call it noodles because that's how my daughter says it. But with using these lentil noodles, you get so much more protein. There are 14 grams of protein in a 2/3 cup serving of these noodles. It's crazy. The directions say to rinse the noodles after you've cooked them, and I always forget to do that. I think that's an important step because usually with gluten-free noodles, you have a very short window of cook time, when they're cooked and not yet soggy. But with these noodles, they stay really firm and chewy, and so it makes me want to overcook them, but I'm thinking it's because I'm not rinsing the starch off of them. But anyway, it's just butter Parmesan noodles. We use a lot of butter. I like to add it, help it out with a little olive oil, a lot of Parmesan cheese, salt, pepper, garlic powder, because that goes on everything in our home. Sometimes I'll add some minced garlic to this. The heat from the noodles won't quite cook the garlic, but if it's in the bottom, it will warm it up a little bit to take a little bit of that fresh garlic sting out. But yeah, I just eyeball all of these measurements and stir it up and taste it. We don't use a lot of white noodles in this house. We usually try and get some nutrition from whatever noodles we're eating. Yeah, it's just such an easy way. My daughter loves noodles, and this dish is delicious. It's comforting, and when you don't use the white noodles, you don't really get that pasta sleep crash afterwards. So we make this really regularly. It was getting really hard to stir, so I just went ahead and cut it up. I mean, both my husband and my daughter are going to need their pasta cut anyway, so my husband usually does it himself. And then I just pan roasted some green beans with salt, pepper, garlic powder, and olive oil, and paired those with this. And a lot of times we'll do roasted broccoli. It's my favorite, but we didn't have broccoli, so yeah, that's it.
So what did you think? Any of those look good? If you try any of these, please let me know. Let me know what you think. I really enjoy them. They've been getting me through the last few months. And hopefully they'll continue to get me through the next couple. When are you coming out? She didn't say anything. That's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please like this video and please subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye.